I rented it out in April. Furnished. Clean. Good location. I left 2 mugs, a kettle, 1 spare blanket. The kind of things you're supposed to keep when someone else is moving in. Didn't meet them. It was done through a friend. Just a guy working in finance, apparently quiet, rarely home. Perfect. I kept one of the keys. Out of habit. Out of caution. The first 2 weeks passed with no thoughts about it. I was staying with my girlfriend. New place, new rhythm. But sometime in early May, I started checking the app I'd installed before I moved out. The doorbell camera. I used it mostly for packages. And I noticed something. The light in the hallway never turned on. Not once. I kept watching. Morning. Afternoon. Night. The camera would trigger. Motion detected, door opened, but the light stayed off. I assumed it was just the angle. Or maybe he was quick. Open and close. But it kept happening. 3 entries in 1 week. Then 2 more. Always the same. Door opens. Dark inside. Then door shuts. I thought about messaging. Just to check in. But I didn't. I didn't want to be weird. He paid on time. That was enough. Until I visited the building by accident. I'd left a document in the basement locker. Something I needed for tax stuff. The elevator still smelled like paint. Everything looked the same. But when I walked past my old door, I stopped. The hallway was dead silent. And the sticker I'd put on the doorbell, "Do not ring, baby asleep," was still there. I hadn't taken it down. But neither had he. And that felt wrong. I opened the mailbox out of reflex. Inside were 2 flyers. 1 utility notice. And a bank letter, unopened, addressed to me. It had my name. Not his. Dated a week ago. That night I checked the camera again. The footage was from earlier that day. The door had opened at 14:22. I froze the frame. There was something wrong with the shadow inside. No figure. Just a soft flicker. Like motion blur without motion. Then the door closed. Still dark. I went back 3 days later. Didn't tell anyone. Didn't ring the bell. I just wanted to stand in the hallway and listen. It was a little after 6 p.m. Enough time for someone to be home. But I heard nothing. No steps. No typing. Not even plumbing. I held the spare key in my palm for 10 minutes. Didn't move. Then I left. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I checked the camera history again. 5 new recordings. Each one showed the door opening. Each one, no person. Just a quick burst of hallway light, then darkness. Like the inside was always unlit. Like whoever was entering didn't need to see. I called my friend. Asked for the renter's number. He hesitated but gave it. I texted him, polite, short. Just checking if everything was okay. He didn't answer. The next day, I went back. I told myself I'd knock. Just knock. Maybe say I was picking something up. But the moment I stepped onto that floor, I knew I wouldn't. The air was still. Not just quiet, still. Like the space was waiting. I stood at the door again. Looked down. No marks on the floor. No signs of scuffing. No new wear. The welcome mat was still slightly crooked, exactly the way I used to leave it. That detail stuck. I unlocked the door. The sound it made, that metal click, was too familiar. Like the lock had never been turned by anyone else. The air inside was cool. No smell. No heat. No fabric scent, no sweat, no soap. The lights were off. I flipped one. Flickered. Then held. Everything looked exactly as I'd left it. Mug stacked in the sink. Blanket folded at the edge of the couch. Kettle unplugged. I opened the fridge. Empty. Not recently cleaned, just unused. Same with the bathroom. Towel still on the back of the door. Mine. Toothbrush cup dry. I went to the bedroom. Bed made. Not perfectly, not hotel style. Just the way I made it. My pillow still had the slight dip on the left side. I checked the drawers. Top one, nothing. Second one, old receipts, one safety pin, a receipt from March. Bottom drawer, full of folded clothes. Mine. I stared at them. Held one up. A shirt I'd lost months ago. No smell. Nowhere. Folded the way I fold things, inside out, sleeves tucked. I stood in that room for a long time. Then I sat. And waited. I don't know what I expected. But around 1940, I heard a knock. Not at the front door. From inside the wall. I lived in that unit for 3 years. I knew its layout. 2 apartments per floor. Mine faced the street. The wall with the bedroom backed onto the stairwell, not another unit. So when I heard the knock, soft and rhythmically hesitant, I knew it couldn't be anyone next door. I froze. It came again. Not like pipes. Not vibration. A human knock. I pressed my hand to the wall. The plaster was cool. Still. I knocked back once. Nothing. After maybe 10 seconds I stood up. Opened the door to the hallway. No one there. Silence. I left the door open behind me and walked to the stairwell. It was empty. No echo. No footsteps. I came back in, locked the door, and turned off the lights. Just sat in the dark and waited. Nothing happened. But I couldn't stop noticing things. The apartment felt paused. Like it had been cleaned and staged. Like someone had reset it. The couch cushion didn't have that deep imprint it should have if someone had been sitting there. No grooves on the floor where the coffee table should have been slightly nudged. Even the trash bin was empty, but there was a liner inside. Folded too precisely. It didn't feel lived in. It felt performed. I stood and walked through the rooms again. Slowly. There was something about the dust. Not everywhere. But where it was, it had settled uniformly. Top of the bookshelf. Back of the counter. No swipe marks. No disturbances. I turned on the fan in the bathroom. The hum was as loud as ever. But the air didn't shift. Not like a place that's been used. More like a showroom. Then I noticed something subtle. A post-it note. Yellow. Stuck on the inside of the wardrobe. It had nothing written on it. But I remembered putting it there once. Just as a placeholder for a label. That was nearly a year ago. I'd removed it. I was sure. Now it was back. In the exact same position. I didn't sleep that night. Not in the apartment. I went back to my girlfriend's place. Didn't say anything. But I started checking the camera every few hours. 3 nights later, it triggered again. Door opened. Darkness inside. Then the hallway light caught something just at the edge. A movement. Low. Near the floor. Like someone's hand retracting behind the doorframe. I checked my bank account the next morning. The transfer had gone through. Same time. Same amount. Nothing changed. I stared at the entry longer than I needed to. There was a name attached. Not the one I had on file. Not the man my friend said he'd vetted. Different last name. Shorter. No profile photo in the payment system. I googled it. Nothing came up. I thought about calling. Or asking my friend again. But I didn't. I was afraid of how calm it all seemed. I went back to the apartment that evening. Same hallway. Same smell. No lights through the peephole. I unlocked the door. Slowly this time. The apartment looked untouched. I left a small piece of tape on the inside edge of the door, just a tiny tab. It was gone. Everything inside was still. clean. But the fan in the bathroom had been unplugged. I hadn't done that. I checked the closet again. The post-it was still there. This time, I peeled it off, held it up to the light. There was faint indenting, like someone had written and erased. I tilted it, angled it against the lamp. 2 words, maybe? But I couldn't make them out. Just the pressure of letters. Someone had pressed hard, then wiped it clean. I left it on the table, turned off all the lights, and I sat down in the hallway, right beside the front door. I waited. At 2:11, the motion sensor clicked on. I opened the app. The door camera was showing my own hallway, but empty. Then the feed shifted. Not a glitch, just a change in perspective. The camera angle moved slightly to the left, but no one touched it. It adjusted itself. The new frame showed part of the floor I hadn't seen before. A shape. Not clear, but low, near the edge. I paused the video, scrolled frame by frame. There it was. A shoe, facing the door. Not moving. Too close. Almost pressed up against it. But not mine. Not his. Different. Old. Smooth-soled. No laces. I checked the closet the next day. My shoes were where I left them. But one pair, black sneakers I hadn't worn in months, had dust underneath, and clean soles. I stopped trying to explain it. There was no logic left to lean on. I stopped thinking of it as my apartment. It didn't behave like a space anymore. It behaved like something that was aware of being watched. Like it adjusted to how I saw it. Like it wanted to remain unchanged when I returned. I began setting traps. Subtle ones. I unzipped a pillow just slightly. Placed a tiny paper clip inside. Folded the pillow back the same way. Next time I checked, paper clip gone. No trace of the zip being opened. I took a photo of the exact angle of the curtain. Drew a pencil mark beneath the curtain rod. 4 days later, the photo didn't match. Curtain still closed, but drawn tighter. I replaced the trash bag with a clear one. Empty. Sealed. Next visit, same bag. But a faint crease that hadn't been there before. Like something had been put in, then taken out. I unplugged the fridge. Made sure it wasn't humming. Left a thermometer inside. When I came back, the plug was still out. But the fridge was cold. It wasn't tricks. It wasn't someone living there. It was the apartment itself. Everything in it was perfectly reset, not returned, not remade. Just quietly shifted into the same position it had always been. Like something was memorizing a state and pressing rewind. Then I found the second note. It wasn't taped. It was inside the kettle. Folded once, square, no handwriting. But when I rubbed my thumb along it, indent again. Same pressure, same faint outline. One word this time. I held it under the lamp. Angled soft. Still. I sat down. Turned on the hallway light. Closed the door. And I waited. At 2:16 a.m., the doorknob twitched. Not turned. Not shaken. Just that sound, the weight shift of someone standing behind it. Finger barely brushing metal. The camera didn't trigger. The app showed no motion. But I heard it. A low hum behind the door. And then a voice. Not through the door. Through the wall. Flat. Distant. Like a recording played too slow. You're doing it wrong. That's all. Then silence. After that night I stayed. I didn't lock the door anymore. Didn't turn on the lights unless I needed to. I stopped going to my girlfriend's. Stopped working. The apartment was the only thing I trusted now. Not because it was safe, but because it was consistent. Everything outside felt thinner. People moved strangely. Their speech felt paused, like it waited for my reaction. like they only existed when I looked at them. But the apartment remembered. It didn't try to explain itself. It didn't speak again. It just kept placing things where I would find them. Third note was in the sink. Wet, sealed under a glass. Same paper. Same silent impression. This one said, "Stop checking." I took the kettle, filled it, boiled it, poured water over the paper. The word didn't change. The ink didn't run. It had no ink. There was no new movement for days. No knock. No shadow. But I felt it watching. Not from a spot. From everywhere. When I sat on the couch, I could feel the walls adjust behind me. When I looked into the mirror, the reflection always seemed a split second behind. I opened the closet one night. Sat inside. Door open. Just enough to see the room. I waited. Hours passed. No sound. No light. Then a flick. Not in the room, in my eye. A skip. Like a frame missing in a recording. Suddenly I was standing by the window. Curtain drawn. Hands at my side. No memory of getting there. The room was unchanged. But my chest felt compressed. Like I'd exhaled and forgotten how to pull air back in. I opened the fridge. Inside, another note. This one was folded twice. I unfolded it. Hands trembling. "You're not doing it wrong anymore." I sat down at the kitchen table. Turned on the overhead light. It flickered once. Held steady. Then everything around me shifted. Not violently, not loud. Just subtle. Angles straightened. Edges smoothed. Colors cooled. Like the room had relaxed. Like it had accepted me. I don't remember when I stopped checking my phone. Stopped thinking about work. Stopped needing anything from outside. The room adjusted to my stillness. Nothing decayed. Nothing spoiled. Time inside became soft, like breathing through fabric. I realized I hadn't seen my reflection in days. The mirror still hung where I'd left it. But the surface was no longer reflective. Just a muted blur, the texture of smooth glass. I stood in front of it one night, holding a lamp. Light hit it. Nothing bounced back. It wasn't a mirror anymore. It was something else. A surface that absorbed. I opened every drawer again. They were all empty. Even the clothes I'd folded, the books, the dishes, gone. But I wasn't disturbed. Because I hadn't used them. I started writing. Not stories, not lists. Just lines. On walls, on the floor, in the margins of old envelopes. I didn't look at what I wrote. But I kept writing. The paper was always where I needed it. Every time I looked under the couch or behind the stove. There it was. A sheet. Clean. Waiting. Some nights I'd find my handwriting in places I didn't remember leaving it. Corners of the ceiling. Inside cabinet doors. On the backs of receipts I hadn't seen in years. And it was always legible. Never rushed. The words were calm. Things like, "No one's watching now. Stay near the west wall. You are allowed to sleep." Then, one morning, I woke up already sitting at the table. Hands folded. Logbook open in front of me. I hadn't owned a logbook. But it was there. Familiar. Brown cloth cover. Thin pages. Inside were entries. Each page labeled by date. Each one in my writing. Perfect block letters. No corrections. No edits. The earliest page was from 3 months ago. The date I handed over the keys. The latest was from that morning. It read, "Window remained closed. No motion detected. Stayed unchanged." Then the line beneath. "Today begins again." I turned the page. Blank. I picked up the pen, the only object left on the table. And I wrote. I write every morning now. Always at the same time. always before the light changes. There's no alarm, no reminder, but I wake when I'm supposed to. The logbook is always open to the next blank page. The pen is always exactly where it should be. I don't remember writing the rules, but they're clear. Keep the windows closed. Check the hallway before sitting. Do not rewatch footage. End each entry with the word "still." That's the part one never forget. Each log ends in my hand, finishing that word "still." The cameras don't notify me anymore. They record, I think, but I never see footage. I never ask. The door hasn't opened in weeks, but I sense people outside. They pass. They pause. They never knock. Sometimes the sound of keys in the stairwell, but no footsteps. Sometimes a knock in the floor, from underneath. Even though I'm not on the top level anymore. Or maybe I am. I don't check the lease. I don't check the date. There is no rent. There is no schedule. But the bank account remains full. Every Sunday, a new deposit. From a name I don't recognize. But the names are starting to repeat. Some of them are mine. Old email aliases. Job applications. Login IDs I haven't used in years. I've stopped reacting. When I speak, it's to the walls. Not out loud. Just mentally. It's enough. They answer through the furniture. Through the light. Through the positioning of objects that don't exist. Sometimes I find a folded note in the fridge. Sometimes behind the mirror. They no longer have words. Just the outline of letters that I remember writing. Or will write. I'm not watched. I'm not imprisoned. I'm observed. Like weather. Like routine. The final page in the logbook appeared this morning. It was already filled. Not by me, but in my handwriting. Entry concluded. Unit consistent. New observer en route. Then my name. My full name. And beneath it, a time. 1946. Same as the doorbell timestamp. Same as the knock behind the wall. It's evening now. I'm sitting quietly. Lights off. Fridge hums. Curtain still. And I can hear someone walking up the stairs. Slow. Measured. Another renter. Another log. But not mine. Mine's already complete. The end.